I honestly think I can get a wolf one-on-one though. You could take a wolf, wow, you'd be dead in 10 minutes. I'm 230. Wolves are what? 180? 200 tops? He has no thumbs. If I control his neck, he's donezo. Like I'm saying, but why is he strategizing about this? Arian Foster is a 4-time Pro Bowl running back, over 8,000 all-purpose yards, 68 touchdowns, and 14 surgeries. He had one of the more memorable signature celebrations with the Namaste bow. I think I said that right. It's a customary Hindu greeting. It's basically a sign of respect. Also, as a sign of respect, at least I think, respect for the game, Arian decided to retire in the middle of the season in 2016. If that feels like a disrespectful thing, you have to consider he could have easily kept collecting game checks, but instead decided that roster spot would be better suited for a younger, hungrier player. Fun fact, he retired right after playing the Bills, and it's just something about the Bills that make people retire like immediately. Bills fans relax, I later joke about my team in this same video. Just chill, bro. Arian's a lot more than just a football player. He's one of the more interesting characters to come through the league, like period. He once seriously argued on Twitter for like 4 hours about why he could beat a wolf in a one-on-one fight, and he was dead serious, and he made some decent points, but more on that later. As for right now, let's start at the beginning. This is what happened to Arian Foster. Cue the Wayne. Arian Foster was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico. His dad is black and his mom is of Mexican descent. Now, Arian's dad's name is Carl Foster. He played wide receiver for the University of New Mexico in the late 70s. I presume that this is where he met Arian's mom, and it seems like after college, they just decided to settle down there. Arian is the youngest of 4 kids and got into a ton of fights growing up. It's one of those things that y'all have probably seen before, might remember kids going through. You might have been that kid back in school, that mixed kid. You don't really fit in with this group, you don't really fit in with that group, and you just take crap for it when you're young. It was basically that. Arian's dad had an interesting relationship with the game of football, and this interesting relationship would carry on to his son later in life. See, Arian's dad played football all his life and eventually did achieve his dream of signing with an NFL team. Well, his dream was probably actually to play with an NFL team, and that never happened. He signed with the Denver Broncos in 1982, but didn't even make it past the summer before he was cut. Eventually, he had to stop chasing that dream to provide for his family. But when Arian was 7, his mom encouraged him to play football, and his dad was 100% against it. He didn't want any of his kids playing football, and he was actually pretty upset about the whole situation, but Arian fell in love with the game. When Arian was young, he had that moment that I bet a bunch of people watching can actually attest to. He's a kid, the teacher's asking everybody what they want to do when they grow up, or what they want to be when they grow up. I think is how they word it. You got the dude that wants to be a doctor and the dude that wants to be an astronaut. Things that are difficult to accomplish. Like, it's not easy to become either of those things. But that's like, yeah, good job, son. You go do it. And they're right. They should encourage you. But when you say, I want to play in the NFL, they say, you need to be more realistic. That's not a realistic goal. And it's like, do you know how many people fail to be a doctor and an astronaut like every day? It's a goal that's difficult to achieve, but it's not impossible. If you're a teacher and you're watching this is my suggestion. I'm just saying, hear me out. If a kid comes to you with big dreams, instead of telling him to pick something more realistic, won't you encourage him, but then let him know the amount of work that it takes. You want to play in the league? Great, that's what's up. All right, look, you're going to need to outwork everybody, okay? Look, I want you to read this book, Mamba Mentality, Relentless, one of them type of books that really outline what it takes, like the mindset it takes to become a pro athlete. It's not easy, but it's obviously possible. Many people have done it and do it every single year.
We return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
Naturally curious and open-minded, Arian was never just an athlete. As a kid, he was into poetry, theater, and improvisation. During his high school years, his parents divorced and Arian moved to San Diego to live with his dad. Both his parents agreed that at that time in his life, it was best that a young boy be with his father, so that's how the decision was made. Get this, dude played linebacker at Mission Bay High School during his sophomore season when he first got there. It wasn't until his junior year that they allowed him to play running back. By the time he was a senior, Arian had blossomed into the best player in the district. He was awarded All-San Diego Western League Player of the Year, rushing for over 2,000 yards and scoring 24 TDs. He also scored 6 touchdowns on kick return as well. If he got the ball, the defense was in trouble. Arian was recruited by West Virginia, Oregon State, Oregon, North Carolina, and Tennessee. And in 2004, Arian Foster chose to play for the Tennessee Volunteers. So Arian gets to campus that first year and he's sitting behind 2 future professional running backs, Cedric Houston and Gerald Riggs. This forced Arian to redshirt his first year, but I'm sure he benefited from sitting behind 2 future pros, like he had to take something from them. After that season, Cedric Houston was drafted by the New York Jets in the 6th round of the 2005 NFL Draft, but he walked away from football 2 years later to return to college and get his degree. I imagine it had to have some kind of effect on Arian, like if not immediately, at least later in life. Either way, in 2005, all of redshirt freshman Arian knew that there was now only one guy in front of him on the depth chart. But shortly after the start of the season, that guy in front of him got injured. Boom, Arian's the #1 back. Just to tie up this loose end real quick in case anybody's interested, Gerald Riggs ended up going undrafted in 2006 and was picked up by the Dolphins. He also played for the Bears, then moved on to the CFL. Okay, cool. Arian's college career wasn't exactly stellar. In 2005, when the aforementioned Gerald Riggs got injured, Arian looked like a future star. Freshman ran for 879 yards, scoring 5 touchdowns while averaging 4.8 yards per carry. He didn't do a ton of damage in the pass game, but if you add up his 148 pass yards, that put him over 1,000 all-purpose yards as a freshman. As a sophomore, Arian came in as the starter and prepared to take over just like he'd once done in high school. But things didn't exactly work out as he had planned. See, injuries were a reoccurring problem for Arian. Arian's injury issues would take center stage during his sophomore season and severely limit his output. Not to mention he was splitting time with other backs and basically doing a running back by committee. His production was cut by more than half of what he had done his freshman season. And to make matters worse, during the Outback Bowl that year, Tennessee had a chance to win as the game was tied late, but Arian fumbled a handoff in Tennessee territory that was then recovered by the opposing team and returned for an 88-yard touchdown, breaking a tie, allowing Penn State to take the lead and ultimately go on to win the game. Damn, man, what a way to go out. Arian was having a rough go at it. I mean, he even got arrested during that same year for disorderly conduct and underage consumption after he and a couple teammates got into a fight at a party. Arian vowed to shake back and return better than ever during his junior season. And he did just that. Arian's junior season ended up being the best year of his entire college career. Dude ended up rushing for 1,200 yards and he scored more touchdowns as a junior than he did in all his other collegiate seasons combined. The man went off. He also finally got a chance to really show what he can do in the pass game, catching 39 passes for 340 yards and 2 TDs. If you watch these videos on the regular, after you have a junior season like that, what should you do? You should go pro. And why should you go pro? Because there's little to no upside for returning? That is correct. That's a lesson that Arian would have to learn the hard way. After his junior season, Arian was projected as a 2nd-round pick. And I don't know how, but somehow they convinced this man to stay in college another year. Listen, bro, he stays in college another year. They get a new offensive coordinator, change the entire offense, go back to running back by committee, and Arian, who is frequently injured, also got injured. He had his 2nd lowest rushing total of his entire college career as a senior. Dude scored 1 touchdown, and his draft stock, it was falling every week. So from a strictly football standpoint, staying for that senior year was a pretty major setback on Arian's career. From a personal standpoint, however, it was great. Arian actually ended up meeting the mother of his first child during his senior year. So if he had gone pro, that would have never happened. Little to no football upside. Yeah, clean that up. Now that his rushing totals were down, concerns about everything else were up. And there was a couple. You got injuries, ball security, and character issues. Arian is what you call an individual. I'm very familiar with this type. See, sometime in a team setting, a person like Arian has a hard time doing things in like a cookie cutter type of way. Because each person is different, they need things tailored to them individually. But in a football setting, there's so many big, strong, fast, testosterone filled dudes that you really don't have time to do that. So you just scream at the group to do it this one way. And that just don't work with a cat like Arian. Because of this, he could sometimes come across as selfish or, hard to coach. Despite finishing as Tennessee's second all-time leading rusher, Arian wasn't your typical fall in line by the book player. Because of that, he'd rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And this had all come to the forefront during that dreaded senior season. It's rare that you see a player stay 4 years in college and leave on bad terms. Like, it doesn't happen very often, but with Arian, it kind of happened like that. And that's unfortunate, Arian left Tennessee and went back home to San Diego, where he had moved with his dad, back in high school. He decided to attend San Diego State's pro day instead of, going back to Tennessee to do it. He measured in at 6'1", 226, he ran a 4.69, and he hit 23 reps on the bench press. In 1 year, Arian had gone from a second round projection to a 5th or 6th round projection. Just when he thought things couldn't get any worse, during the 2009 NFL Draft, rounds 5 and 6 passed. They came and went. When the 7th round rolls around, Arian's phone rings. It's the Seahawks. This dude is so dejected at this point, he answered the phone. They're asking him, hey man, what's going on? Like, how would you feel to be a Seattle Seahawk? This dude is like, yeah, it's cool, I guess. And yeah, they didn't draft him. Nobody did. He went undrafted. He was eventually signed by the Houston Texans. And finally, he was in the NFL like he told that teacher all those years ago. A few months after signing, he got cut. A story eerily similar to that of his dad. But he caught a break that his dad did not catch. The very next day after being cut, Arian was signed to the practice squad. So he was a practice squad player for 4 months. That's how long it took him to get onto the active roster and get any meaningful playing time in the NFL. His decision to stay for that senior year had created a much tougher road to NFL stardom. But if you're like me, you believe everything happens for a reason, and that Texan situation, it might have just been the perfect situation for Arian Foster. If you look at the system they run and everything, it was just a match made in heaven once he actually got onto the team, got into the starting lineup, and started running a rock. Played in 6 games during his rookie year, he carried the ball 54 times for 257 yards, scored 3 touchdowns, and made 8 catches for an additional 93 yards. Former West Virginia running back Steve Slayton had been on a downward spiral after an amazing rookie season a few years earlier. And if you're wondering, yes, I have done a What Happened to Pat White and Steve Slayton videos, an older vid, still a good one. Check it out if you'd like after this. Steve Slayton's poor play left an opening for Arian. And finally, Arian's childhood dream came true at the highest level. He became a star in the NFL. 1 year after going undrafted, 1 year after being cut and added to the practice squad, Arian Foster rushed for 1,600 yards, averaging 5 yards per carry, and he scored 16 touchdowns. He caught 66 passes, bro. This was in 2010. 66 passes for 604 yards and 2 more TDs through the air. He led the entire league in rushing, beating out names like Jamal Charles, Chris Johnson, and Adrian Peterson. He even broke the record for most yards from scrimmage by an undrafted player, a record previously held by the beastly Priest Holmes. And just like that, he made his first Pro Bowl. It seemed like Arian had escaped his terrible injury issues, at least for that 1 year. Nope. See, there's a lot of amazing things about that season that we've outlined here, but the most amazing thing is the fact that he played the majority of that 2010 season with a broken collarbone. He had a non-team doctor x-ray it and never notified the team from fear of losing his starting spot. He basically doped up on painkillers and kind of went to a dark place in his mind to deal with the pain. It was probably around that time that he developed a mindset that would later lead to him tweeting about being able to beat a wolf in a one-on-one fight. As Arian said, it's a mindset thing. He learned to size up his opponent, learn their weakness, and ignore his own pain. He literally hid that injury for 2 years. He didn't tell them about that injury until after he signed his 5-year extension. He knew with his injury history, if he had disclosed that, it would have hurt his long-term viability in the team's eyes, and they'd have been more hesitant to give him a long-term deal. So he hit it, he played through it, and that is just a crazy story. Now the following year, he rushed for 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns, 600 yards through the air again, and he won his first playoff game versus my team, unfortunately. In 2012, he finally got paid, like for real paid. 5-year, $43 million extension. So he went from making about $500,000 the year before to making like $18 million the year after he signed his contract. Shortly after he signed this extension, he told the team about the broken collarbone he had sustained in 2010. Of course, at that point, they didn't believe him, so they x-rayed it, and sure enough, it had been broken and it actually never healed correctly. As you might imagine, something like that would happen if you just continue to play with a broken collarbone. Despite all that, Arian remained one of the best backs in the league in 2012. 2,000 all-purpose yards again, 17 touchdowns again, Pro Bowl again, beat my Bengals in the playoffs again, bro. He became the 3rd fastest player to reach 5,000 yards from scrimmage in NFL history, behind Edgerrin James and Eric Dickerson. And despite the fact that he seemed to choke in the bigger moments when he was in college, in the NFL, he never had any issues like that. He was actually the first player in league history to rush for over 100 yards in his first 3 playoff games. 2013 saw Arian's injury issues come back to haunt him again. He had a serious back injury, and he later admitted he probably made it worse by continuing to, work out and try to play games and do everything with the injured back. He says that over time, your pain tolerance gets so high, you can hardly tell the difference between a real injury and just normal football pain. 2014 would be Arian's last year as a premier back in the NFL. 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns in only 13 games was enough to get him his 4th Pro Bowl selection. But the following year, he would once again be severely limited by injury. In 2016, Arian signed with the Dolphins, and on October 24th of that year, Arian decided, you know what, this isn't for me anymore. And he walked away from the game for good. It was around this time that Arian had some extra time on his hands. For some reason, he started studying wolves. Yo, check out these tweets. Let's just go through these real quick. I honestly think I can get a wolf one-on-one though. You could take a wolf. Wow, you'd be dead in 10 minutes. I'm 230. Wolves are what? 180? 200 tops? He has no thumbs. If I control his neck, he's donezo. Like I'm saying, but why is he strategizing about this? Wolves hunt in packs. None of them have thumbs. I've studied the wolf. He can't read. I know his weaknesses. Plus, the thumb thing. People come back like, yo, he's just gonna bite you, bro. If he bites me, his main weapon is immobilized. Then he becomes vulnerable. This is why thumbs are so important. Mike Collins replies, only one problem, bro. A wolf bites at 1,200 pounds of pressure. Broken arm eliminates the use of thumbs. Thumb. I still have a whole other arm. My right one, because I used my non-dominant hand to shield. I'm just smarter than the wolf. Advantage me. Again, he will claw an artery open or claw your face off. Then you go to grab your arm and he chews your face off. Lose, lose. Bro, you think a wolf knows where my artery is? All of a sudden, I'm fighting a wolf that knows biology. A wolf can take down a full-grown elk. You don't stand a chance. Elks don't have websites, aggression, arms, or thumbs. It's just a walking meal. Then Ryan Rodriguez got smart. He said a wolf also hasn't had groin, hamstring, and knee injuries in the last 6 years. Advantage wolf. Arian responds. He also hasn't been to 4 Pro Bowls, overcome those injuries, and doesn't have thumbs. Advantage me. That is great. I think I'm just end the video right there. Oh, but what happened to him? All right, let's go. Since retiring from the NFL, Arian has stayed busy. He's appeared in a few movies, did some narration work for documentaries, and dropped a rap album. After a couple of amazingly interesting podcast episodes, including Joe Rogan's show, Arian started his own podcast called Now What, and has had everybody on from Snoop Dogg, Jay Prince, Brian Cushing, Beto O'Rourke, Terry Crews, Deion Sanders, Neil Brennan, Reggie Bush, Joe Button, Inky Johnson, Maverick Carter, just an array of interesting people from the sports world, the entertainment world, and every now and then the political world. Despite everything he accomplished in sports, Arian says if he could do it all over, he wouldn't play football, which is an interesting statement. Now, his reasons include, what it's done to his body. He obviously took a lot of damage, and he feels that when he was in his prime physically, he was in his infancy mentally. And when he retired from the game, he was like 30, but he felt like a kid. Like he had to start all the way over and then learn how to be a functioning adult outside of the NFL. And like his dad, he's also adamantly against his kids playing the game. And I'll end with this, man. I think he has some good points, right? But if we really think about it, for all of us who have played football or any type of organized sports, if we erase the things that we learned from playing that sport, we'd be a totally different person. Maybe a person that we don't like very much. Because what did we learn playing sports? How to compete, how to work as a team, how to handle losing, handle winning, overcome adversity, getting back up after you get knocked down. You learn discipline, leadership, accountability. I mean, the list goes on. And so while football can hold back some of your ability to express yourself as an individual, which I think was my issue, that doesn't take away from the massive amount of value that we've all taken from playing the game. Thoughts in the comment section. That's all I got for you today, bros. My name is Flimlo Raps. 1. If y'all enjoyed this video, be sure to click the thumbs up button. For more football stories, news, and analysis, subscribe here and enable your notifications to never miss an upload. If you really enjoyed the content, check out my vlog channel for behind the scenes look at my YouTube and music grind, along with me answering your questions at length.